Hello, my name is Niamh Gallagher, and I am an AHRC Chase doctoral researcher from Goldsmiths, University of London. This video presentation is about how embodiment acts as my main method of research for my practice-based PhD project Authentic Bodies, Diverse Embodiment and Disabled Identity in String Performance Practice. This practice research combines string performance, embodiment, and disability studies to illuminate the knowledge-generating work of disabled musicians, their perspectives and adaptations in musical discourse. As a disabled musician, my project explores the knowledges and agencies of diverse embodiment and critiques pathologizing and therapeutic narratives which tend to dominate discourse around music and disability. I ask how foregrounding the experience of disabled bodies may offer a framework for interrogating embodied experience in musical practice. The specific embodied and technological practices of this project will be concerned with my instrument, the viola, and my specific body. The processes explored and findings will be applicable to practitioners both disabled and non-disabled. Why am I the right person to conduct this research? I am a disabled person as defined in the UK Equality Act 2010, who has a lived experience of having a diverse embodiment. I am also a disabled musician who has a long-standing practice and relationship with my instrument, the viola. Through my practice, I explore embodied knowledge and identity, both as a disabled person and as a musician. In my practice, adaptation has been a crucial thread. The specifics of my embodiment require me to adapt both my bodily approach to the practice and repertoire to my body. Why is this research important? 22% of the UK's population are disabled, with only 1.8% of people working in the music industry identifying as being disabled. In the current research field of music and disability, there are two types of researchers. The first group are non-disabled researchers who theorise the experience of disabled practitioners, and the second group of researchers are musicians who have had established musical careers, who then become disabled and therefore compare their experiences both before and after a traumatic event. There is a notable underrepresentation of practice-led research from the perspective of being a disabled musician, as well as a sizable gap in the field of disabled practitioners discussing their embodiment within their own musical practices. The questions for my research are as follows. 1. How do embodiment and somatic discourses furnish frameworks for articulating disabled experience in string performance? 1a. What creative adaptations may facilitate a disabled musician in their practice? 2. How may foregrounding the experience of my disabled body offer a framework for interrogating embodied experience in musical practice? 2a. How can aspects of disabled musical experience offer insight for wider performance practices? So what actually is an authentic body? I have come to define the authentic body as being one that is constantly in a state of flux, a body that embraces flexibility, the body you have right now. Having a practice where your own authentic body is at the forefront allows for more authentic interactions with and in your practice. The authentic body asks the practitioner to act upon the knowledges of their body, to remain with these inclinations and not to ignore them. For example, Doku Maje states her everyday life turns into a stage for what she would describe as choreographing the dance of avoiding pain, or when Spatz asks, what can a body do? In this presentation, the application of my authentic body places disability as a stable mode of embodiment. When I refer to embodiment, I am using it both as a noun and as an adjective to embrace embodied practice, embodied knowledge, embodied research, and embodied technique. Diverse embodiment refers to the background of the disabled identity, body, and the nuances that come with this. Within this research, I am taking a body-first methodology. This is where the stimulus of the practice and research is derived from the practitioner's own body. This methodology was formed when I started incorporating elements of embodied, movement-led, movement-based, and somatics practices into my own practice of playing the viola. Another important aspect of this body-first methodology is having a practice of comfort, where the practitioner creates a safe environment, whether that be a physical or imagined space, in order to interact with their practice. This practice should not contribute to any resistance, pain, or discomfort, therefore subverting the normative expectations held in Western classical virtuosic-driven practices. When I document my own authentic body-first practice with the viola, I typically film whole practice sessions where I play through existing solo viola repertoire, or sometimes I have an improvisation session, just seeing what my body wants to play. Straight afterwards, I write reflective notes in my practice diary. This helps me digest the session and write how certain aspects felt within my body. These are helpful to reflect on as themes emerge. A few days later, I re-watch these practice videos and pick out things that are interesting. Then I recreate them and turn them into techniques. I should stipulate these are not necessarily new techniques. They are moments where my body signifies or occupies these interactions. Later, I write a phenomena-technical piece of writing with a technical score for composers, which sets out the parameters of the technique. This turns into a bank of techniques for composers, from which we co-create new works for the viola. When I practice these new works, it creates an iterative feedback loop. The next few slides are an example of how this methodology is used within practice. The first technique I created was called left side harmonics, which came to be because I was practicing Cassandra Miller's Day Longing Slack Tide. During multiple sessions, I was finding it uncomfortable and painful to play these high harmonics, as you can see on the score, on the C and G strings, as I have a very inflexible wrist. After reading my notes and watching the sessions back, I started to develop different approaches to play this on the viola. After some time, I found the most authentic variation was moving my left arm out from under the viola to be more winged out and buoyant, allowing me to approach the viola from above. The core of this technique was derived from how I tune the viola, which I can show you a bit of now. On the right, you can see an example of one of the phenomena techniques that I send to composers. At the top there is a hyperlink to the video of me performing the technique, accompanied by the phenomena technical writing, as can be seen in blue, and finally this technical score for composers in green. As the video is quite small, I have enlarged it and will play it to you now, so you can have a chance of seeing how the video fits with the two texts. Then, after sending all of my phenomena techniques and phenomena technical writings to friend and colleague Nina Dannon, we started doing some workshops on Zoom to explore all of the sonic capabilities of this technique. During these Zoom sessions, we created the Embodied stimming wheel, a tool that can be used within artistic practices for individuals or collaborators. In the center, you add a sensory input. In this case, it was the video and audio of the left side harmonics. And then you work around the wheel, developing a sonic language, in this case, based on embodied connections. Instead of grouping the sounds by timbre, we wanted to group them by the internal sensations they gave us, to use these as the starting blocks to develop a composition. This is an example of how we use the left side harmonics as the sensory input into the embodied stimming wheel. And Nina's initial response can be seen here on the right hand side. Her initial response was that the texture of the technique was really quite grainy, adding that she felt there was a slight bitter taste and fleeting pressure, as well as sonically it reminded Nina of a brass instrument doing tremolo or vibrato. So after discussing this technique, we decided to try a trill between a harmonic and an open string. And then you can see my response on the left-hand side. My embodied stimulus came from the sensation of performing the technique, saying that although both my right and left arms and hands both come from a place of buoyancy, my right side feels firm and weighty, whilst my left side feels airy. We then got discussing this, and we said that the gesture is like a light of a lamp, gently rising and falling, soft, showing the buoyancy. And then we discussed this being kind of like a jellyfish, and then this is the technique that came from this. As you can see, there's that kind of jellyfish gesture almost. And then another technique to come from my initial embodied stimulus was that Nina said the drone kind of sounded like an ohm. Therefore, we detuned the C string to an A, which changed the whole resonance of the viola. And this is the technique here. Eventually, after a few more workshopping sessions, Nina and I will be using these techniques, along with some others, to create new repertoire for the viola. These techniques will also become part of the iterative feedback loop I mentioned before as part of my own research. Here are my references. I am happy to share the slides with anyone, and eventually this presentation will be up on Goldsmiths Research Online to be used as a point of reference. This is my contact information for any questions or suggestions, or if you want to chat to me more about this project. Thank you.